For the third Sunday in Ordinary Time, I set the stage a little bit last week and, showing us that Jesus' mission is to call back the Lord's people in Israel from their scattering in exile and to call the nations to him as well. And we see a deeper application of the prophets here today as well. So we don't just recognize Jesus called as the servant of God, but we hear a reminder, too, that as the exiles began with the tribes of Zebulun and Naphtali, so the ingathering of those tribes is going to begin with those two. So the return from exile is going to begin with the tribes of Zebulun and Naphtali. And that's why Jesus, hearing that John was arrested when he goes to begin his ministry, goes to the region of Galilee. That's right there in the area of Zebulun and Naphtali. And so he can begin this call back home, this call back to the faith, this call back to the Lord in that same region where the prophets reminded us that the exile began and prophesied that that's where the ingathering would begin. So, then we hear, Jesus calling the fishermen, and, calls them to himself and really, the first to respond to this call back, call back to the Lord. So, that's kind of that. And continuing the importance of St. Paul's letters as we begin this year, stepping into Jesus' mission. Last week we heard about the call to holiness, in a sense, a personal call to holiness. All believers are called to be holy, and really all people of the world are called to be believers and so called to be holy. But it's not just between me and God. The call is out of the world and into the church. Think about that ingathering. The plan of God was to call back the exiles into the land of Israel. Okay, well, the new Israel is the church. So we're called out of the world and into the church. And St. Paul calls us to be united in faith, regardless of who our major influences are in the faith, whoever may have inspired us. It doesn't matter who, we all need to be looking even beyond them or through them or in them for Jesus himself. And that's where we are united in faith. There shouldn't be any rivalries or divisions among us because of, this, that, or the other person, or, whatever our preferences are. The truth is Jesus, and Jesus is the truth of the faith, and in him we are united. So a personal call to holiness, but holiness as well in our unity of faith within the church. And, in those ways, we connect with this call back home, call back to the Lord, call back to our family of faith in God.